Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into the absolute master plan for conquering competitive exams. But hey, let me set the tone right out of the gate here. This isn't about shortcuts. Consider this a little bit of tough love. True success in any highly competitive environment, it absolutely requires an actionable, rigid roadmap. And honestly, a willingness to just do the hard work. Period. You simply can't wing it.
Look, if you're tuning into this, you're probably gearing up for a massive exam yourself. And let's be real for a second. It is incredibly overwhelming, right? You're staring down these giant syllabuses, trying to balance a totally chaotic schedule, and constantly fighting off endless digital distractions that just want to steal your attention. It kind of feels like an uphill battle where your own brain is sometimes working against you. But take a deep breath, because that stops today.
So here is our agenda for today's Explainer. We're covering Mindset for Success, the Guiding GPS, the Magic 888 Routine, Freedom from Distractions, Smart Notes and Revision, and finally, the Ultimate Differentiator. Let's jump right in.
Starting off with Section 1, Mindset for Success. Hard work is mandatory. Listen, hoping to crack a major exam with just 2 or 3 months of casual, laid-back studying? That's a total myth. You have to actively commit to the intense, focused effort required before you even pick up a pen.
Okay, once your mindset is locked in, we move on to the foundation. Section 2, the Guiding GPS, which is your syllabus.
There's a great concept here. The syllabus is your GPS. Think about it. If you don't know exactly where you're going, how on earth are you going to get there? It is shockingly common for students to waste hundreds of hours studying subjects that aren't even heavily weighted on the tests, just because they didn't map out their route. If your exam focuses heavily on math and reasoning, memorizing an entire encyclopedia on 18th century history isn't just inefficient, it's a fantastic way to guarantee you fail the exam, even if it makes you sound super smart at dinner parties.
So how do we actually use this GPS? Well, you break it down. You absolutely must categorize your entire syllabus into 3 specific tiers: easy, moderate, and tough. By doing this, you instantly prioritize your focus. You figure out exactly where you need to spend the bulk of your energy and where you can maybe afford to coast just a little bit. It basically takes this massive, terrifying mountain of information and turns it into a manageable staircase.
Now that we know what to study, we need to know exactly when to study. Let's move to Section 3, the Magic 888 Routine, Mastering Your 24 Hours.
This right here is the ultimate time management strategy to give structure to an otherwise totally chaotic day. Every single one of us has 24 hours. This master plan divides those hours into 3 clean blocks: 8 hours for sleep, 8 hours for other life activities, and 8 hours of dedicated study. Now, regarding that study block, those 8 hours must be pure, undisturbed practice and learning. We're talking solving old question papers, practicing math, deep reading, absolutely no multitasking allowed.
And we really need to talk about sleep, because it is strictly non-negotiable. You need a minimum of 6 to 7 hours of sleep every single night. I know, there's this toxic myth out there that pulling all-nighters makes you a more dedicated, hardcore student. It doesn't. Nighttime rest is literally the only time your brain encodes the information you learned that day into your actual memory. In fact, studies show that pulling an all-nighter can reduce your memory retention by up to 40%. So if you skip sleep, you are quite literally throwing away your own hard work.
So how do we structure the waking hours? Let's build out an ideal daily timeline. Before 12 p.m., aim to get 3 hours of study in. Mornings are prime time for memorization because your brain is completely fresh. Then, between 12 p.m. and 6 p.m., carve out another 3 hours. This is perfect for problem solving, math, and writing. Finally, between 6 p.m. and midnight, dedicate another 4 hours for tests, analyzing previous year's questions, and revision. If you stick to these blocks, you can comfortably extract 8 to 10 hours of high-quality study time without feeling totally burnt out.
But hey, what if you have a full-time job? We haven't forgotten about you. If you're a working professional, you just adapt the routine. Dedicate 2 focused hours in the morning before work and 2 completely dedicated hours at night when you get home. That is 4 hours of pure focus. Consistently applying these 4 hours, especially prioritizing your weakest subjects, is absolutely enough to drive massive success over time.
But here's the catch. All this perfectly scheduled time means absolutely nothing if you can't protect it. That brings us to Section 4, Freedom from Distractions, which is, effectively, a war on tech. Let's be brutally honest here. The biggest enemy of the modern student isn't a tough syllabus. It's the smartphone in your pocket. Think about all these traps. The endless notifications, doom scrolling through reels, consuming random news that doesn't even impact you, and mindless binge watching. Why do we do this? Well, our brains naturally prefer low-effort activities. It's way easier to scroll than to solve a complex algebra equation. But these traps will easily steal 3 to 4 hours from your day without you even noticing.
So you have to be ruthless. When you sit down for your study blocks, turn off your notifications completely and physically distance your phone from your workspace. Put it in another room. If you are at home and your family's around, there is zero reason you need your phone right next to you for an emergency. Out of sight, out of mind. Reclaim those lost hours. All right, once the phone is away, it's time to actually do the work. Section 5, Smart Notes and Revision. This is the execution phase.
There is a huge difference between wasting time and studying smart. Bad notes basically look like a replica of the textbook. If you're writing down massive, paragraph-long explanations, you're just doing busy work. Good notes, on the other hand, are highly distilled. They are short, point-based facts and pure formulas. For example, if you're studying geography, a smart note is literally just the river's name, its length, and its source. That's it. You want your notes to be lightning fast to review, not a massive chore to read through.
And speaking of review, here is an infallible loop to guarantee those facts actually stay in your long-term memory. We call it the 1-7-14-day revision loop. What you study today, you must briefly revise the very next day. Then, you review it again on the 7th day. Finally, you lock it all in with a review on the 14th day. This completely short-circuits the brain's natural forgetting curve. You won't look at a question in the exam hall and think, I knew this a month ago. You'll just know it.
Which brings us to our final section, the glue that holds this entire master plan together. Section 6, the ultimate differentiator, discipline. You know, inspiration is great and motivation is what gets you started, but discipline is the only thing that gets you to the finish line. There's a powerful rule of thumb you really need to adopt here. Leave 100 worldly tasks behind to sit down and study at your scheduled time. Regularity is everything. If it's 6 p.m. and that's your scheduled study time, you sit down. You ignore the casual interruptions. When your friends call to go out for a quick cup of tea, you have to be disciplined enough to say no. Obviously, real emergencies are different, but casual socializing simply has to take a back seat.
So, you now have the exact roadmap. You know how to set your mindset, map your syllabus, structure your 24 hours, eliminate your phone, and revise efficiently. But none of it works unless you actually do. So I'm going to leave you with this final, critical question to ask yourself as soon as this explainer wraps up. Will you choose the pain of discipline today or the pain of distraction tomorrow? The master plan is in your hands. Now it's time to execute.